Abram and Sarai, who are going to experience a name change. And maybe let's start there.
Start with the name change?
Let's start with Abram and Sarai's name change and then see what happens as that progresses. So maybe you could talk about that.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with the name changes in Scripture. Several years ago, a couple decades ago now, I read Isaiah 43:1, and it says, I have formed you, O Jacob, but I have called you Israel. Do not fear, I have redeemed you and called you by name, called you by your name, so you will know that you are mine. And that made me think, wow, there's a name change there. And then I started thinking, and I realized every prominent person in Scripture almost has some type of name or identity change. And we have Abram and we have Sarai, and they're interacting with God. And in Hebrew, the unsayable name of God, which I'm about to say, is Yahweh. It's Yud-He, Vav-He in Hebrew. It's more acceptable to just say the letters than to say the name. And one of the really important letters in there, it's in there twice, is the Hebrew letter He, which is like an H sound. As we move on in this story, God makes a covenant with Abraham about being the father of a great nation. And this is not just a promise, this is a covenant. And it's much deeper, much stronger, and there's a lot of ceremony around it. And the sign of the covenant is circumcision. And so in this milestone occasion in the story of Abram's life, God changes his name. And it's so interesting because he's inserting a part of his identity, God's identity, into Abram's identity when he makes this covenant with him. And it's that H, and his name goes from Abram to Abraham. And that H is symbolic of God's power in his own identity. And God is actually giving Abraham now the power to move forward in the meaning of this covenant, what the result of this covenant is going to be, and that's the power to bear children. And so it takes two to have a baby, right? So he also comes to Sarai, and he renames her as well with that same H, that symbol of power, and changes her name to Sarah, and she becomes the mother of a nation. And it's so beautiful that the fullness of their identity coming in this encounter with God, where he's renaming him, just like he does with Jacob and Israel. And as we'll see, he does with Moses, he does with Gideon, he does with Peter, he does with Saul. He gives Jesus a name, this naming by God. And God is literally taking his image and putting it in us so that we know we're created. A part of himself he's given to us. And every Hebrew letter has a meaning, and that He means to behold. And the literal meaning of the word behold, which is used 1,400 times in Scripture, means to perceive the spiritual reality that is right in front of you. And so God's giving part of himself to give them the power to enter into the covenant and have the babies past childbearing ages. And he's saying, behold the spiritual reality that's right in front of you.